From the first basket to the biggest baskets.
For almost 30 years, the Sacramento Kings have been our Kings. They've made us cheer and made us cry.
Jerry, all I can say to you is thank you.
Well, thank you.
For the past 2 years, we've wondered, will they stay or will they go?
After Here We Stay, Here We Build, Here We Buy, and Here We Purple is tonight when we say, here they go. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Fox 40 News at 5:30. Steph Cruz and myself are just outside of Sleep Train Arena because it is a huge night for the Sacramento Kings, a huge night for the city of Sacramento because it is the last game of the season for the Kings, and although it sort of hurts me a little bit for these words to come out of my mouth, it could be potentially the last game that the Kings ever play in the city of Sacramento.
Yeah, there's certainly that uncertainty hovering, and we hope that is not the case, but we are ending this season not knowing what is coming next. We're outside, but we'll go now to Jim and Christina inside. This game starts at 7:30 against the Clippers, guys.
7:30, last game of the season. Some of the clips on the floor. Some of the Kings have already been out and gone back to the locker room for now. It won't be too long, though, before both teams take the floor. It's going to be a very interesting and probably emotional night.
Emotional, yeah. It better not be the last game. I can't imagine that it will be the last game. I'm ready for that new arena sometime, but yeah, we're just going to have to get through this.
And there is also some big news out of New York City today that we will get to as well that could impact the future of this team. So we've got all that covered from the court here at Sleep Train. Steph and Eric.
All right, and guys, you should be seeing these fans coming in momentarily because we're just starting to see some people roll into the parking lot, and you'll see them within the next couple of minutes. But we are handling it here outside. We've got this Kings game covered from every aspect, inside and outside as well. We've also got you covered 3,000 miles away in New York. Eric Rucker is there covering everything in terms of what's going on with the NBA and their decision making. A lot happening today. Here's what he has to tell us about what happened with the NBA meeting in that committee this afternoon.
And 9 out of the 12 NBA owners on that relocation committee met here in New York for about 4 hours. And when it was done, they said they were not even close to making a decision on whether the team will go to Seattle or stay in Sacramento. NBA Commissioner David Stern spoke briefly afterwards to the media from both cities, saying that it comes down to the same issues: arena, financing, real estate, everything that they've been talking about up to this point. And he says do not expect a decision anytime soon.
The likelihood is that we're going to have another committee meeting, either personally or more likely by teleconference, sometime towards the end of next week, at which time they will make a final determination, or likely make a final determination, and then issue a report, which under our Constitution requires 7 business days for the board to have it and to study it. I would be charitable to say the first week in May, but it could slide a bit. That's where we are.
And so we wait because Eric Rucker is there in New York, although this week there is going to be no decision from the Board of Governors about the fate of the Kings. The fans have been extremely passionate, though, and you have some video from 2 years ago when we thought they may be leaving, that same uncertainty. Fans wouldn't leave that final game of the season.
Yeah, and that's when this whole Anaheim thing popped up as to whether or not the Kings were going to travel to Anaheim. I actually went to Anaheim to cover the city council meeting, and it was amazing because at that meeting, they were very, very confident, and it wasn't long after that, just a couple of weeks, that all of that crumbled right underneath them.
Yes, so it's been inspiring, the fan support here, and I bet we're going to see that here tonight. It starts at 7:30, the game does, and who knows, are they going to, if they'll stay well after the game, cheering and showing their support for this team.
A show of support once again, and Jim and Christina again inside. Both of you guys, I know that you remember that night that we were just describing with those fans staying in this building, because it was such an opportunity for these fans to show this area how much their team means to them.
There's no question the team means a lot to Sacramento, and in a lot of different ways. I mean, there are a lot of basketball fans here who just love the Kings because they're NBA, the top level of basketball in the world, but it means a lot to the city as well in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I mean, I can personally remember coming here as a kid and watching games sitting up way up high. So for me, it's about being a fan. But as you mentioned, it's much more to our city if we can get an arena and build around it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a new tax base downtown. It really could revitalize downtown. And that's been Kevin Johnson's speech since the beginning. This is about more than just basketball.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about a game from way back
How
now,
about the very first game? The very first game ever played in Sacramento by the Sacramento Kings at the old arena, Arco number 1 on North Market. And our reporter Lonnie Wong filed this story that night.
It was the sporting event of the year, if not the entire history of Sacramento. Certainly worthy of a celebration, and a celebration it was for long-suffering sports fans here.
We've been basketball coaches forever. We've been waiting for a basketball room all these years. Now we got it.
The media was there.
Very, very unusual event in Sacramento for a number of reasons. First of all, the sports and the Kings and all that.
And so was a sellout crowd of over 10,000 fans, dressed for a special occasion.
Yeah, we're looking forward to this for a long time, and we thought there's only one way to bring the Kings into Sacramento and do it in class.
Get the Kings tree, we're right here.
Fans were gobbling up souvenirs an hour before the tip-off. Inside the newly completed Arco Arena, it was a continuous party. The opening night formalities were brief. Mayor Ann Rudin got boos. Kings owner Greg Lukenbill got cheers. The crowd got even more boisterous as the Kings players were introduced, and surprise cheerleader Crazy George went to work. But that was nothing compared to the explosion of noise following the Kings' first basket. Obvious that this team is a hit on this very first opening day of this first year for the Sacramento Kings. The question is whether these fans will be able to sustain the enthusiasm.
I was here for that, not here because that was the original Arco Arena,
right.
But I was in that building, 10,333 seats. It was small, it was built to be a temporary facility,
yeah.
And one of the reasons that Sacramento was able to get the team from Kansas City is the promise by Greg Lukenbill and his group, the people that bought the team,
right.
They would get that new arena built quickly, and guess what? Isn't that almost exactly where we are now?
Ding dong. That was when my family stopped going to Warrior games. And when we started coming to Sacramento, and that was it. No more Warrior games after that.
Yeah, and Steph and Eric, there aren't a lot of Kings fans who are anxious to once again become Warriors fans. They're hoping this thing works out in their favor.
No.
No, we certainly don't plan on doing that either.
Yeah, and Christina, that's what I was going to ask you, because we've had so many conversations back at the station about all the great memories that you have as a kid and coming here as your with your family and it being such a huge part of your childhood. What's it like for you to be standing in this arena right now, thinking that maybe this is the last game? Such a long run for them.
Oh, don't get her started.
You can't do that to me. I'm going to end up crying. No, I honestly cannot imagine it. I've actually said many times on Twitter, my dad and my brother talk on the phone regularly, and sports usually is the reason. It keeps our family together.
It's
and
bonding.
to not have the Kings to talk about could be a very, very sad thing. We're going to have to talk 49ers all the time.
You know, we talked about this very briefly a little bit earlier, some of the big news, and Eric Rucker, who's in New York, covered some of it for us. There's also word today from one of the men who is on that committee, an NBA owner. There is word about expansion, and that's a story that you need to stay with us to hear, because that could, in fact, make two cities happy.
I like just hearing that word. Yes, expansion. Expand it. Just expand it.
That would solve a lot of problems. We'll give it back to you guys for now.
Yeah, it's like the mayor said, Seattle can have a team, they just can't have our team.
Exactly.
So hopefully that makes them happy and great.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are all wearing purple here, and Fox 40's gotten behind this movement, Here We Purple, to show our support.
Yeah, and Here We Purple has gone everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, all over social media. Sabrina Rodriguez with a little bit of history about Here We Purple, how Here We Purple started and how it came here today.
Sacramento! It started years ago as Here We Stay, then Here We Build, and Here We Buy. Now the fan fight continues with Here We Purple.
It looks like a purple people leader to me.
Thanks to Twitter, the excitement kept growing. Hashtags were key in keeping the buzz alive, and Fox 40 joined in the fight.
I'm Bethany Crouch, and Here We Purple. Let's keep the Kings.
I'm Paul Robbins. Here We Purple, Sacramento. Let's keep those Kings.
So I'm wearing my purple coat. Why not the family dog? Here, Juno, you want some purple for the Kings?
A little purple here, a little purple there, everywhere, on him, on the bus, on her brush.
Go King.
Here We Purple! We've got Tia, Christian, Sansire. We love our Kings. Ever since Bobby Jackson, Mike Bibby days, we love the Kings. We want you to stay in Sacramento. You're #1 in our hearts. Stay right here.